Good afternoon, Jim. Good afternoon, Simon and Dan.
Hey, Frank.
Good afternoon. Frank, you're a regular with us and we like it that way. How is it going? The build-up now, people taking this fight very seriously because it could well be a tasty encounter, couldn't it?
Well, it is a serious fight. You know, you got the number one and number two fighting. And the added spice is that the winner of this becomes the interim champion for the WBO title, which means that they are the mandatory to Usyk, and that fight will have to happen down the line. So there's a lot to go for both the guys. And, you know, for me, it's a really good fight in as much that the styles will gel to make it a real competitive ding-dong. I'm sure you're going to get a cracking fight out of this.
I think it sounds that way, Simon, doesn't it?
It's a great fight that Frank and Ben Shalom have made, because you've got two guys, difficult fight to make, I suspect, for them, but you've got two guys that, as Frank says, are at top of their rankings in one and 2 and 3 in another. Irony of this one, Frank, is, am I right that Usyk was at one point having discussions about Joe Joyce and offered him such a derisory offer that it wasn't even a conversation? If he gets a shot at Usyk, that dynamic will change a little bit, won't it?
Of course it will, because whoever wins this, they're going to be in that position with a mandatory. Now, mandatory challenger normally gets 20% of the period, but you're not giving up options. So it makes the negotiations much better for the challenger. And obviously, you know, if it is Usyk and it is Joe Joyce, then we got more strength than him, in as much that we've got a TV company will get behind it. Whereas Usyk, you know, he's obviously from the Ukraine and he hasn't got the real backing of a major TV company.
Going into this fight, Frank, would you consider this a pick'em fight in terms of Joseph Parker's a former world title holder in the WBO belts? He's also someone that's on a 6-run winning of fights and is getting better as he's getting older now. Joe Joyce is what Joe Joyce is, which is absolutely indomitable, with a supreme engine and an inability seemingly to be knocked over by anyone. Do you think this is a pick'em fight, or do you think it's more weighted to your guy?
No, I think you're spot on. I really do think that's spot on. I mean, you know, you look at Joe's style. Joe takes punches to land punches. He's got a tremendous chin, a great engine. I don't want to see him taking shots, but he does do that. And Parker, as you see his last fight against Derek Chisora, it was a tough fight, and he worked very hard, and he suddenly seems to have got the bit between his teeth. He works and trains in Tyson's camp, so he's working with a world champion. So he's got great sparring preparation for the fight. And Joe, you know, he's relentless. I mean, every time he goes into a fight, he just amazes me each time, because he just seems to dig deep, find it, and he just grinds people down and eventually stops them.
That's a good point you make, Frank, because many people are scratching their head wondering how Joe Joyce has got himself into this position. When he was fighting Dubois, the common thought was it's how and when Dubois stops him or finishes it or wins it. Joe wasn't really given much of a chance by many, was he?
I agree with what you're saying there, Jim, and I do agree with that. However, you know, I didn't think that. I thought that I did fancy that Daniel would beat him. I thought he would, but he got obviously had the problems with his eyes, and he got those terrible fractures. Having said that, you know, Joe again. You were there. You guys came there, and he was relentless in that fight. It was a tough fight. And a good learning fight, by the way, at the end of the day for Daniel, because he's come on since and has now got the WBA regular title. But it's, you know, I don't know. Joe's, when I watch him, each time I watch him, it sort of astounds me. That last fight he had at Wembley, he was taking shots in the first and second round, and I'm sort of like wincing. I was looking at the fight through my hands, through my fingers. But he does, because it's worrying. But I tell you what, he just shakes his head. It's like watching Victor McLagan and John Wayne having a fight. He shakes his head, and then and he just boom, that's it, and he jumps back on you and wears you down. And that was a tough fight for him. And he just, at the end of the day, I mean, it's like he gets out the ring like he just had a walk around the park.
What kind of fight do you expect? I was speaking to Adam Morley yesterday, Joe's manager, and he was very, very confident, Joe Joyce's manager. What kind of fight are you expecting, Frank?
I think that Parker's going to get off fast to start with. I think that's what he would do. I think he'll be trying to work to Joe's body to slow him down, and that's what he'll do. I mean, that's got to be his tactics. Now, Joe will get caught earlier on in the fight, but can Parker maintain the work rate, and will he get discouraged? And obviously, when Joe starts firing, it's not like Joe
Popping
can't
that
punch.
jab out, yeah.
He's a big guy, and he starts landing his shots. It's whether he can take the desire out of Parker.
Are you expecting Joe Joyce to stop him, Frank?
I think I think that for me it would be in the latter rounds. I think that Joe will stop him in the latter rounds.
Frank, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I tell you what, let's get ahead of ourselves. Say Joyce wins it. How difficult would it be to put him up against Usyk when Usyk, it would appear, is still tied up with Fury?
Well, it will be difficult because obviously we all of us want to see the unification of the titles. So that will happen, I believe, sometime next March. And after that fight, then who's ever champion, and I hope it'll be Tyson, I believe it will be, will then have to start defending the various belts of the mandatory defences of each of those belts.
Yeah.
Now he's going to make a choice. He's either going to do them or he'll vacate some. So whatever happens, if Joe gets through, Joe Joyce comes through, then he's in a great position. The same as Daniel Dubois is in a great position at the moment. So Britain's got great interest still in what's happening going forward. But I do believe that the fight with Usyk will happen. I think it will happen next year.
Okay. Frank, I'm going to ask you. You texted me last week to say, no, it's not signed yet. Should be signed next week, Jim. The contract that would see AJ fight Fury. Is it signed?
No, it's not signed yet. We're waiting for them to come back to us, but I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be signed. The main crux of the contract or the negotiations are the splits, which are agreed 60-40. There's a rematch clause, which is agreed, which is 50-50. And the big problem was when the fight would take place. Tyson wanted it on the 12th of November. They wanted December. And we granted them, or Tyson granted them their wish, so they December. So they've got 90% of it's done. Situation with, as it is 60-40, and you're working on 40% of the net, is to give everybody comfort. We've even said that you can be involved in all the contracts with the broadcast contracts, sponsorships and everything. So you see that everything's above board. So that side of it, we satisfy any worries they may have. There's no worries about payment because they will get paid direct from the respective TV companies. So that side of it's sorted out. And then we got the broadcast, and the broadcasters haven't got together yet because we haven't signed our contract yet. But I don't see that being a problem because how can any broadcaster stop this fight from happening? I mean, if they did that, they could not have the best interest of British boxing.
Absolutely.
It would be a BT DAZN deal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think I mean it's not done yet, and I think our side are really all they want to do is make this fight happen, and that's where we're at. And I'm sure that the DAZN people will be the same. Why wouldn't they want this fight to happen?
But if it's that simple, Frank, why is it not done by close of play today? I mean, we're Wednesday now. I
agree with you. Look, the contract's there, and I've just said to you where we're at. I mean, there isn't any way. I mean, I've got to be honest, and we've made this a deal you can't refuse. And there is no way, and there isn't a reason it should be refused because AJ came out and said he wanted it. So he wants it. He's got to instruct his team to make it happen.
I mean, it's going to be one of those that the tickets will sell in about in the space of an hour, isn't it?
No, it's sold.
It's already sold.
No,
it's sold. That's not
it's done.
It's being metaphorical.
Yeah.
What do you think, Frank? I mean, when you think about the size and scale of the economics of this fight, we heard this fight being talked about 18 months ago and the nature of how much the fighters had to generate from this fight. The world's changed and there was an obstacle in terms of an obligation that Tyson had to fight Deontay Wilder and Deontay Wilder exacting that obligation upon him. And obviously now Anthony Joshua, having lost his belts and lost twice to Usyk, has changed the landscape. But what do you, in your mind's eye, were you thinking this is a £75 million fight? Is that what you're sort of planning it to be?
Yeah, I've got to be honest, Simon. I don't think it's lost any of the value. I only gauged out on the response we've had. I mean, and all the hotels are sold out. If it goes to Cardiff, they're sold out now before we've announced or signed anything. And that response tells you this is going to be
But hasn't some of the value been lost, Frank, with the fact that the Middle Eastern guys are really after the Undisputed and would have paid $100 million facility fee for an Undisputed?
Well, look, we've had discussions with people from there. We've told them, and Tyson's told them what he wants, and that's where we're at. What the concern was immediately after his fight with Joshua, Usyk said he wants to fight him. He wants to fight Tyson. He also went on to say he won't be ready this year and he wants to wait till next year. Subsequently, that was confirmed. And in the last week, Aegis, his manager, has said he wants now to fight in December. The problem we have with that is if he doesn't fight, then Tyson's wasted, like what happened last time, wasted all this time and doesn't get to fight this year, and that's not going to happen. So what if somebody comes up, whoever it may be, Middle East, anywhere, if they come up and say, here is a chunk of money, here is a purse, here's an offer you can't refuse.
It's an alternative.
And if Usyk doesn't fight, we will give you there'll be a penalty. You will pay it, and that's not going to happen. So we've got to live in the real world. Tyson wants to fight.
Yeah.
Tyson wants to fight. Tyson wants to fight Joshua. We've made every accommodation to hopefully get this over the line. Everybody said they want it to happen, so please God that happens now. If it doesn't, then Tyson will fight somebody else because he's going to fight. Whatever happens, he's going to fight because he's got to keep himself fit and well for the big fight in March.
Frank, you didn't say if it doesn't happen, did you? If it doesn't,
I did. Well, look.
All right.
Jim, let me just tell you something. Until it's signed, it isn't happening.
True. Okay, we'll phone you tomorrow, Frank. Thank you very much. Frank Warren with us live this lunchtime. Of course, we're trying to get out of Frank. Is this thing signed that would see AJ go in against Fury? More immediately, we were looking ahead to this weekend's big fight thanks to BT Sport. You can watch Joyce Parker live and exclusive on BT Sport Box Office.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.